This is embarrassing and just kind of icky looking. Am I right? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Miriam. Judging by the thumbnail and the title of this video, I think you know, and by looking at my not so great ironing board cover, we're going to be making an ironing board cover today. So I think it's been a couple of months now. I made a quilt from some fabrics that a lady sent me, and I suspect that those fabrics had some kind of starching agent on them. So when I pressed them, they were very stinky. It was a very odd smell, and they did this to my ironing board, and it just looks awful. I mean, it's less than ideal, right? Especially since I shoot videos and take pictures and stuff. It just doesn't look great. So I thought this is perfect opportunity to try something new. I've never made an ironing board cover before, and this is just going to be kind of a fun project that we can work on together. So if you want to make an ironing board cover with me, grab some fabric and we're going to make one. So the fabric that I chose, let me set this aside here. The fabric that I chose is from Riley Blake Designs. I'm actually scheduled to write several blog posts for Riley Blake in the next couple of months. And to do that, they send me fabric to write the blog posts about. So one of the blog posts is going to be about making the ironing board cover, but I'm going ahead and making a video, and I'll be taking pictures and stuff for the blog post as we go along in this video also. But the fabric that I picked, which is like perfect for an ironing board cover, is called Press On by, and I am gonna butcher this person's name, but it's J. Wecker Frisch. That's the person's name. This is on the Fat Quarter Shop. But these fabrics are so cute. Let me show you the ones that I picked out. So we've got little vintage irons, and all of this fabric is kind of vintage inspired, and I picked beautiful colors, and we're gonna do a patchwork design, right? Because you know what? There's not, as far as I know, there's not a tutorial on how to make a pieced ironing board cover. Now, I don't know if that is because it's tricky to make one. I don't know. This is the first time I'm doing this, so if it's an epic fail at the end, we'll talk about it. But I am excited to do this. As you guys know, I like making patchwork anything. I've got patchwork curtains. I made patchwork covers for my journals and my planners. I just really like the look of scrappy patchwork stuff. So we're going to use this. They sent me yardage, but I cut it into 5-inch squares. So if you have an extra charm pack laying around, that would be a really great way to use it. Let's get started, shall we? I went ahead and I got all of my squares cut. I needed 48. The amount of squares you need is going to depend on the measurements of your ironing board. So I just measured the length of my ironing board and the width. And that came out to, oh, let's see here. That came out to 14 by 53. And so I decided to make 4 rows across of squares and 12 rows down. So then 4 times 12 is 48, and I got 48 squares. So, and we will be trimming off some of it because you actually do a cutout of the ironing board. So I watched a couple of tutorials on how to do that part, and I'm fairly confident I'll be able to do it. You need the fabric for your quilt top. Then you need some kind of elastic or string. I'm just using this elastic that I had. Remember when back in 2020, everybody was trying to make masks for themselves and stuff, you know? This is from that. It's just leftover elastic. I'm sure lots of people have some elastic left over from that. So you'll need elastic, and I'm just going to use just this plain kind of creamy solid for the lining. So since it's pieced together, I'm using a lining. If you're just going to use a solid large piece of fabric to make your ironing board cover, which is how all ironing board covers look, you don't need to do a lining. But I'm doing a lining because I want all of those seams concealed, just in case I need to wash my cover at some point, which you know is probably good to do once in a while. Yeah, so that's what you'll need. Just fabric for the top, some elastic, thread, sewing machine, pins if you want to use pins, you know, all the kind of basic sewing necessities, right? Let's go ahead, and the first thing that I need to do is I need to create the little quilt top, right? So if you're just going to use a solid piece of fabric, you can completely skip this step, but I'm going to take my squares and I'm going to lay them out in a layout that I like, and then I will sew them together. My bed makes an excellent extra workspace. It's going to be so nice when I moved out to my sewing studio, right? Now I'm just going to kind of make up a layout here of my squares. Oh my goodness, look at this fabric. How cute is she? I just love this fabric line.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise. And now there's something in the air and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Oh, dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes, undercover agents of the other.
Okay, so I have my little stacks of squares laid out here, nice and neat. I like the color combinations of the orange, especially the orange and the mint green, kind of dispersed evenly throughout the stacks. So now I can sew them together to make our little ironing board cover. So I'm just going to use a 1/4 inch seam like normal, and we'll go from there. So I am gonna sew them by vertical row just because there's more squares in each vertical row. So I'm gonna grab my first stack here and put them right sides together. And stitch. And for each square that I'm sewing together, I am gonna back stitch at the beginning and the end just to make sure these stitches stay put, because my ironing board, I do use it a lot, so it's going to have a lot of wear and tear. There's going to be a lot of movement on the top of the ironing board, and I just want to make sure that those stitches aren't getting pulled out, right? So I'll just do a couple back stitches at the beginning and at the end. Just like that. Very cute. And you just keep going.
Travel beyond all. Hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand. As willows align, we lose track of time. Head up high, now we climb. Oh.
Okay, I got my first row done and it looks beautiful. So I'm just going to continue this process and sew all 4 rows together, just using that 1/4 inch seam allowance and back stitching at the beginning and the end of each seam. Okay. So I've got all of my rows made. So now we just need to press our seams before we sew them together, right? So There's a few options you can do. You could press them open, or what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna nest my seams. That's how I like to sew patchwork together. So what that means is when our seams are put together, they lay like this. So to do that, I need to press all of the seams in the row 1 and row 3 down or up, whichever way you want to go. But you want rows 1 and 3 to be going in one direction, and then rows 2 and 4 to be going in the opposite direction. So then when they're placed together, they lay like this. I'm going to go ahead and press my rows, and I just use my iron and just move it up. Press. Just like that. This is gonna be super cute, I think, as an ironing board cover. And we'll see how long it lasts with all the seams. Like I said, there could be a reason why people don't make a patchwork looking or a pieced ironing board cover, but I thought this would be fun, and this fabric is just so perfect. Okay, so on the rows, once we press them all in one direction, I'm just gonna flip this over and run my iron over the top really quick, and that's just gonna help kind of set that and make sure everything is nice and smooth and as flat as possible, right? Because that's what we want. All right, so that's row 1, and I am gonna grab row 3 and press it in the same direction, and then rows 2 and 4, I'm gonna press them in the opposite direction.
Dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes. Undercover agents of the other. Beyond gravel, beyond all. A bigger scale, the world inhales as we go. I wouldn't want it any other way.
Okay, and I just realized something. So having let me move this back. I don't know if you can see the entire thing, but having my squares laid out on the top of my ironing board, this is not long enough. So I actually need to add another square, at least one more square, to each row. So I'm gonna do that really quick. My rows will actually be 13 squares long instead of just 12, because yeah, this is too short, because I need my row needs to be, or my cover needs to be long enough to actually wrap down under the edges of this, right? Yeah, I might actually need to add a couple more squares to each row now that I'm looking at this. So I'm gonna do that here really quick, and then I'll be right back. All right, gotta pull my hair back. It's hard to sew with your hair down. I'm not really sure why, but I always like to have my hair pulled back. But so I went ahead and added 2 squares to each row just to make sure it's completely long enough for my ironing board. So it's 14 squares long, and I made 4 rows. Now I just sew the rows together. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the first 2 here. And I just place them right sides together. I'll show you. Here are the seams, and see how this seam is laying flat pointing up, and then this seam on this side is laying flat pointing down. So then when they come together perfectly, and the stitches will hold that seam really nice and flat, and that gives us the flattest possible outcome for our seam. So that's the way I like to do it. And yeah, and that's just going to happen all the way down. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew all of my rows together, then we'll move on to the next step.
Dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes, undercut.
And there we have first rows sewn together, and see how all 4 squares come together really nice and perfectly there. That's because we were nesting our seams. I'm just gonna keep on adding the rows here.
Agents of the other, beyond gravel, beyond hope. Dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes, undercover. Agents of the other, beyond gravel.
All right, got them all sewn together. How cute is this? I love these colors of this fabric. It's so beautiful, and it's literally perfect for an ironing board, right? So now I am going to press these seams. Let's bring this over to the ironing board, which is literally right next to me here. And I will move the camera back. So now I just need to press the seams all flat. I would love to hear, have you ever made an ironing board cover? Let me know in the comments below. Or is this tempting you to try to make one? We haven't actually gotten to the ironing board cover part of it, but from what I can tell, it's actually a lot easier than what I thought it was going to be like. So I'm hoping that that is the case. Okay, and just like before, I'm gonna flip this over and just press everything nice and flat again. How cute is this? Can you start to see my vision now here with my cute little colorful patchwork ironing board cover? Looks a lot better than that. Oh goodness. But yeah, any of these fabrics in this fabric line would look so cute as an ironing board cover. I personally really like this orange fabric just because I really love orange. And it's got kind of looks like vintage advertisements on it. And that also comes in pink and let's see, the mint green and white. So yeah, I just love stuff that looks vintage. It's really fun because I love to go antiquing and stuff, and it's just fun to look at things from the past. All right, we're almost done. Just want to get everything pressed nice and flat for our next step. Okay, there we go. See, and let me just lay this out on the ironing board. Oh, look how cute that's going to be. That is going to be so adorable. Oh, I am really excited. Now comes the fun part. I think I'm going to have to move out to my kitchen floor because that's kind of where I have the most space probably, or maybe the dining room table. Basically what we need to do now is we need to lay out the ironing board on top of our quilt top, and remember I'm doing lining, so I need to also do it on the lining, and I need to cut out my pieces. So I might actually lay it out on the lining and mark it, cut it out, and then use that piece as a template to cut out my patchwork piece. So I will take this out to my kitchen dining room area and get set up, and then we will go on to the next step. All right, we're at the dining room table. So I'm gonna go ahead and I brought a ruler to help me. This is a 2.5 inch ruler, I do believe. Yep, 2.5 inch ruler, my Dritz Mark Beyond marker, because it's just what I always use, and my lining fabric. So I'm gonna take my lining fabric and lay this out. Again, if you're not using a lining, you would just use your fabric that you would use for your ironing board top for this part. Like that. And then I've got my ironing board here. I'm actually gonna go ahead and take my previous cover off. So I took off the cover. We're all done with the old cover, right? On my ironing board, I actually have this large wool mat that really helps with pressing. And it came in like a large piece, and I just cut it to size for my ironing board. And I really like this thing. It works really well. So I'm just going to set that aside for right now because I don't need it. Then I'm gonna put my ironing board in the down position. And then we flip it over and place it on the fabric. And now I am just gonna mark all the way around the ironing board, but I'm gonna use this as my guide. I'm gonna put that up against the side of the ironing board, and then I'm gonna mark out here because I need to cut the fabric larger than the actual top of the ironing board, right? Because I need a piece that comes under to kind of hold it in place when we have our elastic that will hold it in place, right? So I'm just using this 2.5 inch ruler. You can use wider, you can have a wider piece if you want. But this is just kind of how I'm doing mine. When you get to that angle, just adjust the ruler and turn it. That. Moving the camera so you can see what I'm doing with the tricky part of the ironing board, right? Sorry, the lighting is not super great in here today. But okay, so I don't think the camera's picking it up that great, but I drew our line here all the way up past where the ironing board is. Then I took my ruler and placed it horizontally against the nose of the ironing board. And I'm just gonna draw a line across like that. And then I'm gonna lift this up here so I can see. And then where I have the two lines that are gonna come together for the nose of the ironing board, I'm just gonna kind of draw, like freehand, a kind of a curve right there. Like that. And then I gotta do the same thing on the other side. So I put down my ruler here. I mark it. I'm gonna mark a little farther up. And then I'm just gonna do a kind of a gentle curve right there. Excellent. Now I'm just gonna keep on tracing or drawing on my line all the way around. There you can see little Miss Kimmy Chu is here to help, of course. This marker is almost empty. All right, I have my piece traced out. So now let me go grab my scissors real quick here. And I am just going to cut along that line that I marked. Wow, these scissors are great. These are Missouri Stars, Missouri Stars Amelia scissors, and they just cut through this fabric like butter. This is nice. All right. So there we have our piece cut out. I'll just set this aside for now. I'll deal with it later. Okay, and then I'm also gonna take my ironing board down. Sorry, Kimmy. She does not like the sound of the ironing board. I know, honey. I'm sorry. All right, now comes the fun part where we cut out our piece on here. So let's see here. How do I want to do this? So I'm basically going to use this as a template, and I'm going to place it on top of our top piece here. Start it down here at the bottom. Wow, it's like the exact width that it needs to be. That worked out perfect. So I basically just need to trim off the bottom and then that angle of the nose of the ironing board. Let's see, what do I want to do? You know what, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to flip this over. You're watching me figure this out in real time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go grab my pins real quick. And what I'm going to do, let me move this stuff so I'm not knocking stuff on the floor, because I am notorious for that. I'm going to put these things right sides together, right? And I'm going to go ahead and pin the lining to my top. So then after I trim it, I can take it straight to my sewing machine and sew the two pieces together. Because that's the next step after we trim. So we're just gonna stick some pins in here to hold them together. And some people might ask why I didn't press the lining. I'm not super concerned about the lining because I'm never gonna see it. So, I mean, if it's a little messy, I'm not super concerned with that. I want the top to look good. So that's why I didn't press it. And I'm not super concerned about the creases in it because we're not gonna see it. This is fun. I haven't done a sewing project like this before. This is slightly different from what I normally do, but it's definitely still quilty. And this ironing board is gonna look so cute out in my studio when it's done, right? Oh, I'm so excited. So now everything is laying nice and flat. My layers are pinned together. So now I'm just gonna take my scissors and I'm just gonna cut out this shape of the ironing board. For my specific ironing board, the 4 rows was the perfect width, but it's really going to depend on your ironing board and kind of how large of a lip you want to create for, like, that's going to hook over the edge. My ironing board itself, like the metal part, isn't that thick. I think it's like 3/4 of an inch or something. So I really didn't need a lot of extra seam and stuff. It's kind of one of these projects that it's not a one size fits all, my instructions and kind of how I'm doing it, but I'm hoping it inspires somebody to try this. I'm really excited about it. I guess I actually only needed 13 squares for my rows. I didn't need that last one here, but that's okay. Okay, we are almost done trimming. Yay! It's trimmed! So now I need to take this to my sewing machine and I'm gonna sew all the way around the edge, 1/4 of an inch like normal. I'm gonna leave an opening somewhere on one of the long sides. I'm gonna leave an opening large enough to turn the piece right side out. And I'll show you how I do that. Then we'll go from there. Okay, now we are going to turn this right side out. So that just means I go to that opening that I left and I carefully pull out, let's see, let's go all the way up here and grab that and pull it out. Just want to be gentle so you don't rip out the stitches of the opening. I'm getting really excited. I hope it works. It's turned out. So now I am just going to go along all the edges and just kind of do that rolling thing, just to make sure that that is all of the seams are rolled out and flat for our next step, which is creating a channel for our elastic to go in. I am not super experienced with elastic, so that will be fun. Oh, I thought of something. So if you don't have elastic on hand, you might be able to just use the elastic from your old ironing board cover. I think I saw where someone did that and that worked. So that's an option if you're kind of chomping at the bit to get it done, but you realize you don't have any elastic. That could be something you could do. I've rolled out all of my edges, so now they lay a little bit flatter. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start where I have that opening, and I'm just gonna fold in the raw edges. I think I'll close that up first. So I'm just gonna fold in the raw edges and just kind of do like a top stitch to close that up. Just so it doesn't cause me problems. So there I just top stitched it shut. And again, this really doesn't have to be that pretty because it's not gonna be visible on the ironing board, right? So, but now I am just going to fold over the edge about a ½ inch. Let's see, is that gonna be enough? Yeah, that'll be good, I think. So I'm gonna fold it over a ½ inch and then stitch as close to that edge as possible. So here, let me get the camera situated so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna sew all the way around doing that, and that's gonna leave, well actually I need to leave another opening, maybe like that big, maybe 2.5 inches wide, where we can put the elastic in. So let's do this real quick here. We've got our little channel made. There's our opening. Now we need a safety pin and our elastic. I have just a normal safety pin here and my little baggie of elastic. And what you do is you take one end of your elastic and you take your safety pin and you just poke it through your elastic like that. And then close your safety pin. And now you've got something to use to push through the channel. So now I am just going to push this through. If you noticed while I was sewing, I didn't actually sew down the corners. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about those yet because they're kind of like a little open little flap. So I might just leave it, or I could tack them down and stitch them down there so it's more clean looking. We'll see. We'll see, but let's get this elastic through here first. So you just get to the opening of your little channel and you take your safety pin and you just push it through into the channel like that, and you just feed it through. And this is a little time consuming. So you move it forward a few inches like that, kind of bunch it up on the safety pin, and then you pull it through. And you just do this all the way around the cover. So I am just gonna keep on doing this process until I am back at the other end of the channel. We are almost done, you guys. It is almost done. This has been quite fun. I like the challenge of trying new projects like this, where it's like, it's something I have never done before, but it's something that I know I'm gonna enjoy in my sewing space all the time. Right? How do you like it? So I got the elastic pulled all the way through. Let me put the camera down so you can see what I'm doing here. So we've got the elastic pulled all the way through. So what I want to do is I want to make sure I have plenty of elastic in here before I cut it. So see, because I have a whole bunch of extra. Here's the other end coming out of the channel with the pin. So I'm going to make sure that we've got plenty of elastic in there before I snip. So I'm going to put my wool mat back on here. And then let's see if it even fits. Wouldn't that be a huge bummer? Oh my goodness. That would be sad. But you live and you learn, right? All right. So you kind of gotta move the elastic around in here. Okay. Oh my goodness. It's so cute. Okay, now I just got to get the elastic, the tension right. So it's actually, oops, it pulled the elastic through. Where's my pin? How typical. Okay, it's back up here. All right, I gotta feed this back through, of course. So basically I just need to get the tension right in the elastic so it's actually going to hold the cover on the ironing board. That's kind of what I have to figure out now. The pin back through because it popped out. I should have pinned it to the other end of the elastic. Maybe that's what I'll do till I figure out the right tension. Elastic is definitely weird to work with. There's a lot of movement. And working with such a large piece, I've never worked with such a large piece of elastic before. Okay, I am just going to kind of pull the other end snug a little bit. And then I am going to, whoops, I'm going to pull it snug. And then I'm going to pin to this end of the elastic too, just to kind of figure out my tension. Okay, so that end is pretty snug. I think I definitely could have made the cover a little wider. It'll work, but could have been a bit wider. It's on there. Oh my goodness, I love this so much. This is so cute. What do you guys think? Pretty cute, huh? Let's see now. Let's see the tension. I am going to take my safety pin out very carefully, not poking myself. Just put that up there. And then I'm just going to pull on both ends. So everything feels pretty stinking snug, which it does. All right, I think that's good. So now I'm just going to tie a knot in the elastic. So it'll be held secure like that. Snip the excess. I probably have enough for another cover if I ever want to make one. Just like that, you guys, I made an ironing board cover. Oh my goodness. Man, I wish this space was larger so you could see it. But how ridiculously cute is this? This is so cute. All right, I'm gonna lift it up so I can kind of show you a little bit better. But look how cute. It looks so good. And it fits. So here's what the underneath looks like. So I'm hooked on the lip of this part. I guess I call it the nose of the ironing board. I don't know if that's the technical term or not. And then we've got our patchwork. And then let me carefully flip it to the other side to show. And then I am hooked on this end also. Sorry, the leg's kind of in the way, but that is hooked and secure. I have no raw seams, or no raw edges rather. If I ever need to clean it for any reason, I can, since I added that lining. And this fits great. I think the only thing I would change if I was to make this again is I would make it a little bit wider, because it does fit. It's covering the sides of my ironing board, but that's it. I think ideally I would kind of like the edges also to kind of be over the lip of the edge of the ironing board, but we'll see if it moves a lot while I'm actually using it. But I think that looks great. I think it looks so good. What do you think? So cute. This is ridiculous. I think it's so cute. Let me know if you were going to try to make a pieced ironing board. Hopefully I've inspired at least one person to try it. I think it looks super cute. It's gonna work, you know. It's fabric over an ironing board, right? So, and now it's so pretty. It's gonna look so much better than my old cover. My old cover was looking pretty icky, but this looks so good. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you sewed along with me with whatever you're making. And I look forward to our next video. If you have any questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I will talk to you very soon. All right? Bye.